Hi, I'm Michael Sodini, and welcome to my podcast. I'm a third-generation firearms industry professional, so I pretty much grew up in it. So I want you to forget everything you think you know about guns and the firearms industry, because the guests that I have on are everyday awesome people that make up the Second Amendment community. Everyone has an opinion on firearms, but very few people actually listen to the individuals that make up the firearms industry. There is a saying, a good friend knows all your best stories, but a best friend has lived them with you. This would best describe my relationship with my next guest, Rafael DelValle from Eagle Imports. Rafael is one of the most respected and loved industry professionals around, and also one of the people responsible for the concept of Walk the Talk America, which is very near and dear to my heart. So it's good to finally have him on the show. It's been long overdue. I really think you're going to enjoy this one. All right, we're back with the Mike Sodini podcast, and my guest today is somebody that I probably should have had on a long time ago, but I talk to this person almost every day, and I think sometimes you get into that comfort zone and you never think about it, but we were supposed to do this at SHOT Show. We never got around to it. Everybody knows that SHOT Show is a place where you can plan all you want for things to see people, and it never happens. But my guest today is not only a near and dear friend, he's someone that I've worked with for many years in the firearms industry. So tell him who you are, Raf.
Hi, Mikey. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, brother.
You want me to give my a brief resume or something?
Yes, your brief resume. Dude, everybody knows who you are. So
yeah, my name is Rafael DelValle. Currently, I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Eagle Imports, who I'm sure everybody that listens to this or knows you knows that you were the president of that for the longest time, and I worked with you and for you for 11 years. And so we are the current importers in the United States for Bersa firearms and for American Classic firearms made by Metro Arms and by SPS, import SPS pistols out of Barcelona, Spain. So we've been at this a long time, buddy.
Go back farther though, because you have kind of an interesting story, and we can get to how we connected, and then you came to Eagle. But go back farther than that, just to show how long
you want me to
go
back to like how I kind of started in the industry.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was out at school at the University of Colorado, and would go skiing as much as possible, and the class as little as possible. And on my way to the mountains, every time, and on my way back to the mountains, I would pass Spyderco knives building. And my father gave me a Spyderco knife when I was, I don't know, maybe early high school, and I thought it was the greatest knife, and it probably still is the greatest knife that I ever owned, right?
Right.
So, and I would always tell Spyder, I'd like to work with somebody that I really, really believe in that product. Well, I graduated from college, as you probably were, and kind of going, okay, well, I've got this piece of paper in my hands now that says I've got a degree, but what the heck am I supposed to do now? And so I decided to pop in to the Spyderco building one day coming home from skiing, dressed for an interview in ski pants and a hooded sweatshirt. And just walked in and said, kind of one of those things that you do when you go into Abercrombie and Fitch. You say, hey, man, are you guys hiring? I'd like to pick up an application. And the lady at the front was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, hold on 1 second. And this guy named Steve Jordahl came out. He was the marketing manager for Spyderco. And he was like, hey, you looking for a job? And I was like, whoa, I didn't know I was going to be talking to anybody. I was just coming back to skiing. He's like, hey, man, it doesn't matter. We're casual here. He goes, you got 20 minutes or so you can come talk to me? And I was like, yeah. So we talked for a little bit, and he goes, I think this was on a Thursday or Friday afternoon. I can't remember, but he goes, I need somebody in customer service. And after we talked, well, can you come in on Monday morning? So that's where it started. I worked for Spyderco for about 6 years or so, and went from being a glorified knife sharpener / answerer of telephones in their customer service department to doing sales, and eventually worked myself up to doing all the distributors in North America, and then I had some South American distributors as well. You know, ironically enough, how the circle comes around, right?
Yeah.
And the stand, one of my big customers was Ellett Brothers, who was a very large gun distributor, but they were also one of the few gun distributors who bought knives. Through going there a bunch and talking about, I just became real close to those guys. In 1999, they were looking for a gun buyer. They asked me if I wanted to come interview, and I did, and they hired me. So I moved from Colorado to South Carolina. Worked there as the gun buyer, eventually being the senior buyer at Ellett Brothers until you poached me from there in 2009.
Right.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
The rest is history. So one of the things that I try to do with this show when I bring people on, because a lot of people are curious as to how I got started in this, or how people in the firearms industry get started in the whole business. So that's an interesting story. But one thing that people don't realize, there's the influencer side of things. There's your Robs, your Majes, your Colleen Noirs, but then there's like the business side. And they're two different worlds.
Sure.
And when you are a buyer in the industry, whether you're a buyer at, say, Cabela's, or you're a buyer at Ellett Brothers, or, when Ellett Brothers existed, or, any of the big distributors, right? You kind of are a rock star, because you hold a lot of power, right? You have the ability to make.
Yeah, especially if you're a buyer for, what, now there's probably a big 3 or a big 4 at the most of the distributors. When I was in, there was probably a big 6 or 7. But yeah, if you're the gun buyer, the ammo buyer for any of those guys, or a Cabela's or Basco or Academy Sports or whatever, within our industry, you hold a lot of influence, because your choices are reflected in the products that your company stocks and sells, and which eventually make their way down to the consumer.
Yeah, it always interests me, because I knew buyers, and you did too, obviously, that they would get trips to Africa on hunts. They would get products, the latest products sent to them.
Yeah, what happened to me? How come I didn't get it?
I know, right? We always joked around about that. You're like, why am I the idiot that just develops these great relationships with people and just honestly buys from them?
Yeah, where's all my free shit?
Yeah, man. I mean, it just shows that you're a good person, though. But that's how we developed our relationship, because I would call you. You had a relationship with my uncle at Eagle Imports.
Yep.
And then we developed a friendship, and we were always hanging out when I come down to see you, and then I'd see you at shows. But then tragedy hit for Eagle Imports. We lost the president of the company at the time to suicide, and he was also a dear friend of yours. And I remember we kind of talked about it. We went to the funeral, and I was talking about, moving into the president position, and, we kind of just somehow we got on the topic of, hey, let's do this.
I think I remember the moment specifically, because I remember you talking to me, and you were like, man, this is a big deal. And I remember being like, hey, Mike, just know that I'm always here for you. If you need anything, I'm always here to help you whatever way I can. That kind of turned into a little bit of a bigger thing, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And it was funny too, because at first when we got the offer out on the table, you actually turned it down.
Did I really turn it down, or was I like, here's my problem, Mike? And it's probably my problem with a lot of things, like whether it's a friend of mine that I've been a friend to for a long time that's just turned into an idiot or something like that, and I just back them up and I support them, and I don't want to like tell them to buzz off, or maybe like a girl that I dated in high school that I should have broken up with months before that I didn't, because but I have a lot of loyalty, I guess, maybe. And also maybe I'm a little bit resistant to change sometimes.
Right.
And it was a big thing, right? Like I'm like leaving something that I've been doing for almost 10 years to go do something totally different, which I knew was going to be great. And the offer was great. But at the same time, I was like, man, I'm going to leave these guys hanging, because my level of responsibility is so big, and I had this, I guess I'd like to call it inner conflict, right?
Right.
Eventually I made the right decision, and thank you very much.
No, it's all good.
It was a combination of me being resistant to change and getting out of my comfort level, and also not wanting to do it with somebody that had really made my career, right? Or given me the opportunity to even listen to offers like what you were giving me. To be like, hey, see ya, and it was tough, and but not for long. Once we made the decision, I mean, we both knew it was right anyway. But
I remember talking to, he was probably your boss at the time, right, Chuck?
Chuck Walker, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, one of my bosses, but probably my mentor. And as I got bigger and better at my job, he was somebody that I turned to a lot, for advice and just bouncing things off the wall. So yeah, I know you did talk to Chuck.
Yeah, I remember it was because we both wanted to be above board about everything, because I also had a relationship with Ella Brothers. So it was one of those dynamics. We had to be careful, and I didn't want to insult anybody, and I didn't want to think that I was like this, poacher predator that's just trying to take key men out of people's company.
Yeah.
And I remember though, talking to Chuck, I called him. I said, "Listen, I'm going to make Rafael an offer, and I don't want there to be any bad blood or anything like that." And I remember he was like, he said something to the effect of, "I knew when he went up there to be with you because you guys are so close, and I knew at the funeral we kind of expected it." He was good. He gave the blessing, like, "Hey."
Yep. No, I remember going in and talking to Chuck and saying, "Hey, Chuck, here's my situation." And Ella Brothers is very important to me, and you're very important to me, but, here's where I'm at. And he just looked at me and goes, "Rafael," he goes, "you're stupid if you don't take it."
Yeah.
And that did it, and I knew that I was stupid if I didn't take it. I knew that. But I just needed somebody, but not you, but somebody else that I respected and they were an important person in my life to tell me that. And as soon as he told me that, it was done.
Yeah.
And that was a good time for sure. It was a good transition for me. And you allowed me to give them. I think we gave them almost a month of notice, right? Like,
yep.
I'm gonna, instead of me just rolling or them. Like a lot of people do now. Like you go into, I'm giving my 2 weeks and they just escort you out the building. I said, Mike's going to let me give you guys 4 weeks so I can train with whoever's taking over for me on the lines. And I'd like to give you a month. And they're like, "We'll take every minute of it." So that was cool.
Yeah. And then, we worked together. I recently, obviously, sold my shares of Eagle, and you're still there.
Yep.
I tell people this, it's the weirdest thing. I mean, we had a friendship before we worked together, and I always feel like you're still there. I mean, like anytime we text each other, we stay in touch. But I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, it's weird when you own a business and you talk the way we talked at Eagle, and that means you, me, Maria, Suze, almost on a daily basis, because a lot of us work remotely. It's just such a weird thing when, it's like, I could always call anyone at Eagle and talk, but I got to respect the fact now that I'm out of this and you guys are working and you have your daily business. I can't just talk. It is a weird dynamic now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure that's the same for anybody when they leave a company, there's like we were just talking about me leaving Ellis. There were 250 employees there that I was friends with, every one of them.
Right.
And, all of a sudden I'm working in a office in my third bedroom by myself all day. I was like, whoa, it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Good thing was there wasn't a bunch of casseroles and donuts and all that in my new office. So
that was the thing too, is like we became, for the importing side of the business, for what we did, a lot of it was sales and entertaining, right? And we became road warriors. Like we were on the road constantly. You specifically, being that you had to work a ton of shows, people don't realize like that life it's like almost being a carny, it's like,
well, that's what we call a group of friends that we see at all the shows, the traveling circus. It's you're going from city to city, basically packing up your tent and we're setting it up in another city doing the same thing, right?
yep.
And so yeah, it's the closest thing that you can imagine to it, especially in January, February, and in August, September. The major shows are going on, and
Yeah.
then in between you're going to see distributors and chain store buyers, and
Run promotions.
Yep, exactly. It's especially as small as Eagle Imports is. There's not many people to do that. So either me or you or both of us.
Yeah. So, for anyone that's listening that really has a passion or, it's a hobby, the shooting sports industry, and that goes for everything in shooting sports, to knives, to scopes, the advice that I guess you would give is just go apply, right? Give it a shot. Just, you never know what's going to happen.
I mean, yeah, that's what I did. And you never know what's going to happen. If you want to get into it, call the companies that you believe in. Call if you're a fan of Littlefold scopes, call Littlefold. See if they're hiring. If you're a fan of Spyderco knives, call Spyderco. Ask them if they're hiring. It's a great industry and something we always touch on. A bunch of us all competitors, but we're all in this together, which is the firearms industry, the shooting industry, whatever you want to call it, against the world, right? Or against the stigma that's placed on it by a certain section of the population.
Well, and that's an interesting thing. Like, I'm glad you kind of brought that up because that brings up something that I didn't even think to talk about today. But there is this stereotype about the firearms industry by almost it's a us versus everybody else kind of mentality because we're called some pretty shitty things by people in the media,
absolutely,
right? And
or just by people in general. I mean, how many times have you met somebody for the first time and they ask what you do, and you sit there and the wheels are spinning in your head, going, "Well, I'm going to tell them what I do, but what kind of reaction am I going to get?" And that's always something that we have to think about. It's interesting.
yeah,
everybody likes refrigerators. If you're a refrigerator salesman, everybody's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," but not everybody likes guns, and so and some people are cool about it, and I can tell that there's other people that I've said that to that maybe it didn't fit quite well with.
Yeah, it's such a polarizing, topic or item, right? Especially firearms.
Yeah, exactly.
It can, you never know the outcome of when you tell somebody what you do, what it's going to be.
Yeah, luckily I live in South Carolina, so that's not a real big issue for me. But, where our Eagle Imports is located in New Jersey, you never know, right?
Yeah. So talk about, because you've been in the industry for so long that you've seen ups and downs. And I always try to tell everybody this, that there's this fascinating thing. Like even some people that are fans of the industry, they don't realize like our best times are when there's a Democrat in office, right? Like we've established that.
Certainly.
We know that.
Certainly.
And, seeing that we rode this gigantic wave and then it kind of crashed down, it started before Trump, right? It started before Trump.
The slowdown?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, but then, right, there was a little slow period, maybe halfway through Obama's second term. And again, you're talking if things are so politically driven, right? But he was in his second term. He never, people call Obama the greatest gun salesman. He never really went after our gun, which to the extent that people thought he might or that he was going to. I think at the end of the day, I don't want to say he was a friend of the Second Amendment because that's probably not true because, I think he believed in some sort of stricter gun control than we have now, but he never really went after him. he would make mention of stuff, and then gun sales go through the roof, right?
Yes,
And
the
then,
perception of him doing something.
yeah, and then I put it halfway, maybe through his second term, people started to realize, okay, he's in the last few years of his presidency, he's not going to do anything, and it's, you know, it's there's not going to be any issues. And things started to slow down, and we got a lull. What was it? Maybe like around 2014 or so. I don't even know. I can't even remember the years anymore. But then, as we approached the new election cycle, when everybody thought Hillary was going to win over Trump, man, gun sales they just went insane because people were like, okay, here's a new Democratic president that's going to be elected. She's going to want to make a mark. There was probably a couple of mass shootings around there, and yes, it just went crazy. And then Trump got elected, and it just stopped.
Yep.
And it's been getting better, I think, for us because sales have actually normalized, inventory levels have gotten level. We have gotten good because so many people bought so much product when they thought Hillary was going to get elected that when she didn't, they were just stuck, right, with tons of product. But, we talk about Ella Brothers, they're out of business. AccuSport, another big distributor, out of business. Jerry's, which was owned by the same company as Ella Brothers, another massive distributor, they're gone.
Right.
And then some other smaller ones too. They just couldn't survive it. But now things are getting better. And then now this coronavirus is hit, and it's gone insane again. Because I don't know if people think that people are going to start turning into zombies, or people are going to start looting their houses as a business. I don't know. But people are toilet paper and 9mm ammo.
Right.
Good luck finding
right.
them.
Yeah.
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 And so who knows how long this will last? I'll give it another 90 days, and it'll stop, and hopefully the gun store owners and the distributors are keeping a much closer eye on this, and they don't overstock themselves, and they don't put themselves in a precarious situation when things slow down. And it's gonna slow down again. And then who knows what will happen with this election coming up, but yeah, it's all very politically driven, and as we can see now, coronavirus driven as well.
Yeah, it's I had Kenny Barlow, from Dasan on, a friend of ours, and we were discussing it, how odd this is, because there's this war, like everyone keeps saying we're at war with this invisible enemy, and it's a weird thing because when you look out the window, like I'm looking out the window right now, and I have landscapers out there. It looks like everyday life is happening, but we don't know how long this is going to last.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't. There's so many things you can do, right? But you can't stop living your life, and that's the thing. What's the balance? What is being careful versus, I got to put money on the table, right?
Yeah.
And not to mention you and I were talking about it on the phone the other day. There's people that they don't care. They want to go out and party. They want to hang out with their friends, whatever, right? And there's that.
Yeah. So obviously through Walk Talk America, and I want to actually get into in a second your role in Walk to Talk America, but I now talk to a lot of mental health professionals, and I've become like their go-to guy for firearm questions. And that's what I love, because it's like bridging that gap. But, the concern that they have.
Supposed to be, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like the vision that we had for it is what has become. And that's what it's a beautiful thing. But their whole thing is now they're seeing all this panic buying. And I had to tell a couple of people the other day, I was like, look, it's not gun people buying these guns. It's first time buyers. It's new buyers. I said, you might see gun people buying ammo, but every gun person pretty much knows, now is not a buyer's market for a firearm. Right. These guns are going to be a lot cheaper when people start unloading them in 4 months if nothing's going on. And the wife is like, hey, let's get the gun out of the house,
Yeah, I mean, I don't need a new gun right now, but you know what? I did go to make sure I had enough ammo the other day, and I've got plenty because I've got like 4 boxes,
Right.
for me, that's plenty. But I don't need cases and cases. But yeah, you're right. There might be some gun guys that are going out and they're buying guns. But most, it's a lot of new buyers. It's a lot of people that are worried that they need to protect their family.
Yes,
and themselves, through whatever may happen.
From the mental health perspective, from the side that they're coming from, is there's a massive concern now that not only from a negligence standpoint, because people aren't necessarily getting the training because it's, obviously social distancing. So ranges are closed and everything like that. But they're also concerned that, as if this keeps going and as the economy tanks down the line, 3-4 months from now, you might see an uptick in suicide by firearm just because, there's so many things. And it's a valid concern. Yeah. And that's why I like that we're talking, staying in touch, because I'm doing stuff with Mental Health America, writing blogs for them. But yeah, this is crazy times.
I mean, Mike, think about this. When the stock market crashed, what was that, like back in the early 1900s, like the big stock market crash in the 20s, I guess it was, right? Mm-hmm. And people were jumping off the buildings because they were so desperate, right? They were so, that they were committing suicide another way, right? That's the famous thing. I mean, if our economy continues to and it's been doing great the last couple of days, or the stock market at least. But if people can't pay their bills, they can't, they lose their jobs, whatever. It's going to cause a lot of anxiety and desperation out there. And there's people that aren't built to handle it, I guess. I don't know. Is that the right way of putting it?
Yeah,
there's going to be people. There's going to be people that are desperate, and they're going to. I'm sure that suicide is going to be an option. I don't know that I'm discussing it correctly, but
no, I mean it's never easy to discuss it, right? That's the whole thing. Yeah. Is like discussing it is a fairly new thing, but that's a good transition into our story with Walk Talk America. So for those that are listening and don't know this, that the concept of Walk the Talk America came about from a business trip that Rafael and I were on, that we decided to take a couple days and blow off some steam, and Rafael's comment to me, I'm going to let you tell this story, but your comment to me is really what sparked the idea.
I'll tell the story the best to my recollection, so please feel free to jump in any way you can.
Sure.
But Mike and I were down, and we were visiting Lipsy's, one of our largest customers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I think we were there on a Friday, right, Mike, or Thursday? I can't remember. But we were like, you know what? We're so close to New Orleans. Let's go to New Orleans for a couple nights. So it must have been on a Friday morning that we were meeting with them, and we spent Friday and Saturday in New Orleans, right? Something like that.
Yep.
But we went down there, and Mike and I went to dinner, and we were waiting, having a drink in the courtyard, waiting for our table to be ready. And there was a woman sitting by herself at another table, and she was reading a book that I was interested in reading. I wish I could remember the name of the book. I wish we could remember the name of the woman.
Yeah, right.
Because she's as much of a part of this as anybody. So I started asking her questions of the book. And as I do, I just start talking to people sometimes, especially if I've had a couple of drinks under my belt.
Yeah, we were in. Yeah, we were in.
We were in. It was Friday. It was Friday evening in New Orleans. I talking to her about the book and everything. I found out she was there for some conference of some sort. And I said, my friend's the general manager of the restaurant. She's like, oh, I come here, whenever I come to town. I said, are you eating with anybody? She said, no. So we invited her to have dinner with us, and she accepted. And through our conversation at dinner, we went all over the place. She told her what we did and all this sort of thing. And like, what was the issue that her daughter had, or that her friend's daughter had?
Her daughter was special needs.
It was autism or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. I just remember her. Somehow we got on the topic of firearms, but talking about helping people or just people in crisis. And then she asked them.
Well, no, now I kind of hit it. Like she was talking about like how do we feel about it when people talk bad about guns or gun restrictions, especially if there's a mass shooting or blah blah blah. And I mean, the thing that we always tell people is, or always told people, and probably it still holds true, if there's a mass shooting or something heinous happens where there's a firearm involved, the anti-gun people always say it's the firearms fault. Let's start making laws against, gun control. And then the people that are on the pro-gun side of things, they think, well, a gun is like a knife or just any other tool. It takes a person to make it deadly. And generally, we found out that those people, PTSD, or they were, depressed, or they were on, drugs of some sort, whatever. And so we're like, oh, it's not the gun's fault. It's
mental
the
health.
person's fault that has some sort of mental health issue.
Yeah.
Well, she said, well, so the anti-gunners, they're going and pushing laws and stuff. Well, what are you guys doing? You say it's mental health, but what are you doing?
How do you work with them?
And I was like, yeah. And I said, and I remember looking at you, Mike, going, why aren't we giving $5 from every gun that we sell to mental health organizations? Sort of like a Red Cross drive or whatever, right? That they do when there's a hurricane. And I think that's where it came from.
That's where it came from. And then I got obsessed with that, which I couldn't stop talking about the idea.
Yeah.
Then I went home, did the research, found Mental Health America, and then we're here today. It's become my life, which is crazy.
And it came from like, that whole thing like, hey, there's a flood in Houston, star 11 on your phone to give $5. Which is what we were originally thinking, because Mike's now started an organization to bridge the gap between the mental health community, I guess that's the right word, and the firearms community.
Yep.
And how long ago was that now, Mike? Like 18 months ago? Was that about right? Or
yeah, that's about right.
Because I found the date. Oh man. Or was it like in March or April of 2019?
Yeah, I think it was 2018, right?
2018. Okay,
yeah.
So we're almost 2 years into it now, right?
Yeah, we're almost 2 years into it. It happened fast once it happened.
I mean, it's unbelievable how fast it happened.
Yeah, and see, this is I was talking to Debbie Plotnick, who's the vice president of Mental Health America today. We were talking earlier, and I had to jump on that call. But it's funny because our work, when we first started, it was just such a foreign concept. It was new. And then sometimes, as you do things, it kind of becomes monotonous, and the importance of what we're doing, it never becomes less important, but sometimes it becomes more of this, like, people are used to it now. They've seen Walk the Talk America. They know what we do. We're sitting there trying to encourage people for better mental health. And then you have something like coronavirus that just swoops in, and all this panic buying happens, and it makes everything we do just come to the forefront again, and how important it is. So now Debbie and I are sitting here writing blogs. I'm working with mental health professionals. It's funny how, and it's tragedy, right? And just, I'm so thankful that it's not the wrong type of tragedy. There's no right tragedy, but it's like,
I don't even know if tragedy is the right word, right, Mike? Because I would call it more like a crisis. Like it's in times of crisis when some of the most important work gets done.
Right. And at least we, the world has an enemy. It's not us versus, somebody.
Right.
It's like the whole world has this enemy, this coronavirus. Yeah.
You know what's crazy is, like 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, this election coming up in November was the only thing anybody could talk about. When's the last time you've heard anybody talk about the election?
Yeah, I know, right?
It just disappeared. Literally, people are talking more about the fact that there was not an NCAA tournament than about the presidential election coming up. It's bizarre. It's not even news anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how this whole thing shakes, like how life will change after this, right? Because you think about 9/11 and it changed flying forever, right? Nothing was the same after that.
Yeah.
And now
Yep.
there's going to be pieces of society that, things are going to change. People are going to find that they can work from home. Their job didn't.
Oh, no, I was talking about that with one of my friends the other day, and absolutely, you just nailed it on the head. When this is all over and these companies realize that they can get the production that they're getting out of their employees the same or maybe even better when they're working from home, they're not going to want them to come back in. So all these huge office buildings and stuff, where if it's not 100% important that you're there every day, people are going to be, working from home. And I think that's good. I mean, I really do. I love working from home. I get so much more done. There's not people bothering me. But think about this: less traffic and I mean, less emissions. But it's going to be really interesting to see how things pan out and as this thing hopefully gets under control.
Yeah, I actually had to talk to Suzanne Lewis, who she's a jack of all trades at Eagle. She started, I think, as just like a person who was, answering phones, but her work ethic was insane. And she was one of the MVPs, I think, at Eagle Imports. But we were,
the MVP,
yeah,
she's the MVP. I mean, we can all toot our own horns about things we did, but it all flows through Suzanne, right?
Yeah, she's just an awesome person. But it's funny because I was talking to her and I said, "Hey, when are you going to be back in the office?" Because I have a friend that wanted to purchase some firearms and go through the proper channels, and then that's a whole nother show in itself, explaining behind the scenes. But most of the people that listen to this show know how the firearms process works. But I was talking to Suzanne, and she goes, she's like, "Yeah, the funny part is I found out that I could do my job from home." Like, because, everything is shut down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's something to be said about an office workplace and all that sort of thing, but I think we're going to see some big changes.
No, so circling back then to this whole thing about the industry, about life itself possibly changing as we know it, you made the comment, I hope, and I would assume that the firearms industry won't make the same mistake that they had made before, where they all just continue to press the gas and think that this is going to last forever. It's
when it comes to firearms industry, I hope, it is my hope, and again, I talked about the dealers and the distributors, but I hope they don't go crazy, and kind of have the same thing that happened after Trump got elected, where everybody was super over inventoried and all that thing. My hope is also that the manufacturers don't go crazy and ramp up and start flooding the market, and and then all of a sudden things slow down, and then these guys have all this inventory, they're going to start dumping, and we're going to be in the same situation we were in before. I hope people learn their lesson, but you know how that goes. Yeah,
we'll see, right?
Yep. It's what have you done for me lately? So it's we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting, but hopefully we're all in a little better place, and we've learned from our mistakes industry wide, and we're better coming out of this situation than we were coming through the election last time.
Yeah, and Eagle Imports is in a weird position anyways, because a lot of what we do is importing and pass through, right? It's not like we have
everything.
Yeah.
Everything, Mike. And it's crazy right now. Like literally, I don't have, let's just say I've got 100 guns on the shelf at the Eagle Imports warehouse, and they're obscure guns, like weird, like competition guns and things like that. Everything else is gone. And people are begging for more. Well, right now, Metro Arms, our Filipino manufacturer, they're shut down. They cannot work. They cannot go to work until at least April 14th, and or April 13th, I guess is that Monday. So, but I don't even know if they're going to be able to open then. So we're not going to see any shipments from them till after that. And then down in Argentina, they're shut down. Not 100%, but they're most of those people are working from home. They've got a very small skeleton crew of people that can literally walk to the factory from their homes that are there working. And but the problem is we can't get an airplane to fly our product from there. They've canceled all commercial flights. There's only a few cargo flights, and imagine trying to get a space on one of those.
Yeah, what's
right now? Go ahead.
No, what are you hearing from our friends down in Argentina and the Philippines? Not just about firearms, but just about the whole coronavirus in general.
Well, I don't know what's happening outside of Manila in the Philippines, but I know in Manila they're locked down. It's shelter in place and essential, trips out of the house only. And in Argentina, it's the same thing. Argentina went as far as there's no commercial flight leaving or coming into their country right now. And talking to Manuel down there, who's the commercial sales manager for Bersa, he told me that you can't even leave when a fire's in a car if you wanted to. They've got the highways shut down. You can't get on the highway. And and literally, he's like, if you walk to the grocery store or whatever, the police will stop you and ask you what you're doing outside. And if you don't have a good excuse, I think he said that there's the possibility of fines for them taking you to jail. So they're really gone, and I think he told me they've only had like 4 deaths down there, and they have very little exposure that they know of, right?
Right.
They're obviously a little bit, once you get out of that city, their situation's a little bit more primitive, so they don't know. There might be people that are sick all over the place that aren't being tested or whatever. But not just like here, I guess. But yeah, they're really it's crazy down there.
What do you? I know you don't have a crystal ball, so you might be like, "Hey, motherfucker, I don't have a crystal ball."
I do. I actually do have a crystal ball.
Oh, okay.
It's never given me the right answer.
I think it's a magic 8 ball, though. To be fair, right?
I have one of those too.
No, but so what do you? Obviously, NRA show, which is a big industry show for us, got canceled. I think that's where we were going to see each other next. We had the USCCA show, which is the United States Concealed Carry Association show. I was actually supposed to be at that this past weekend in Kansas City. That one did not get canceled; it got postponed. In fact, I heard I got an email yesterday that it's either going to be in September or October. But the NRA show, obviously, much bigger, and to find a convention center that can hold that, to reschedule it just be a nightmare. And so we'll see what happens. And then the EWA show, which is whatever people call it, the European SHOT Show, that got postponed, and they're going to move that to September. But check this out, I got a laugh out of it. I'm sure you will too. They're moving that to September, but now the big deal is nobody can get hotel rooms or anything there, or if they can, they're astronomically expensive because it's falling during the Oktoberfest celebration in Germany. So everybody's partying, drinking beer, right? They don't care about a bunch of guys showing up to show guns and ammo at the trade center, at the convention center. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, that's man. I think I got to go to EWA.
No. It makes me want to go more and
right.
and not go to the show.
Right, exactly. Like I'll go. I have no reason to be there, but I'll be out there.
Exactly. And you and I have spent a time at a beer festival in Germany, and we all know how fun that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting to see how this is going to shake out for the industry people. I hope that on the positive side, I hope this little shot in the arm gives people some comfort in terms of like cash flow, but who knows? I mean, there's so many variables to this situation. Obviously, like Eagle has its own challenges with importing and everything like that. And then other companies, some companies were probably on the brink of going under, and then this happened, and this might prolong them or give them some life.
Yeah, absolutely. Shot in the arm.
Shot in the arm, yeah.
And I'm sure, quite honestly, that anybody that's importing firearms right now, I mean, our friends at Arms Corps, right? They're in the Philippines. They're shut down. They have to, obviously, I haven't talked to them, but I'm sure that they're shut down over there.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be hurting everybody.
Yeah, I text. I just because I'm curious and I want to check in on my friends. And I just text Kaloy the other day. But I asked him about ammo, right? Because Arms Corps does ammo, and he just said it's insane. He's like ammo is flying off the shelf.
Yeah. In fact, that's funny you say that. While I was talking to Manuel this morning, he was looking for 223 ammo for the Argentine National Police. They're trying to stock up in case there's any civil unrest, right?
Right.
He emailed Louis over at Arms Corps, and he said he wouldn't have any 223 for 10 to 12 months based on the orders that were coming in. Now, that's going to change, right? Because there's guys that are like, I want $40 million worth of ammo. Well, they don't really want $40 million worth of ammo. But, so all that's going to change, but it just shows you the level that people are going a little crazy right now.
Yeah, and this is the tricky part about, now is the time for companies to become the most efficient they can, but at the same time try to fulfill the supply and demand, but then guess with their crystal ball when that demand will fall off. Because if I had an ammo company right now, I might run right towards the cliff because we got to press the gas. We got to create more ammo, but then that could shut off. And this is the challenges that I think most fans of the gun industry don't understand that we have, Yeah.
I mean, here's a prime example, and I know you and I probably talked about it, but it's been a big topic of conversation, within our circles. 2 months ago, 9mm, pistol ammo was the cheapest I've ever seen it. It's cheaper now than it was 25 years ago. Or it was. And now all of a sudden, and the reason it was so cheap is there's so much of it.
Right.
There's, just an overabundance. And now you can't find a box of 9mm to save your life. And that's how quick the pendulum shifts within the whenever something triggers this industry, right? It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everything, I hope it trends in the right direction. There's so much uncertainty, but as much as this time has been super productive for me, in terms of getting things done around the house and kind of learning new trades and reading about stuff that I always put off, I want life to go back to normal. It's like,
dude, you know how bad I want to go have a drink at the bar with my friends?
Yeah.
It's killing me. The just simple things that you take for granted. Like, I would never in my adult life thought of the time when I couldn't go have a drink at the bar with my friends, right?
Yeah.
There's never been a time when bars are closed unless it's 4:00 in the morning, which I've often wanted to go have a drink then too, but that's a whole other story. But it's I mean, imagine that. And it's like, hopefully nothing that we'll ever see again. But yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to let you get going here. I want, Raf, that's one of the great strengths you've always had is your, the higher you went up the ranks in everything in life in terms of becoming national sales manager and this and that, you've always been there to answer a question from anybody. You did a great job of always talking to people online or on social media, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm the same dude I always was, man. It's just, with great power comes great responsibility, Mike.
That's right. No, but so why don't you tell the people where they, if anyone's listening and they have a question about Bersa or any Metro Arms
Yeah,
product.
so you can obviously go to our website, eagleimportsinc.com, eagleimportinc.com, all one word, and you can click on our various brands on there. You can we during normal business hours we have a live chat on there that Elaine Livingston handles for us, and so she's always there if you have a real quick question. You can certainly call Eagle Imports during business hours at 732-493-0333. And but you can also get us through social media now, which is obviously a way that that things seem to be trending. You can go on Facebook at Bersa USA. I guess it's Bersa-USA, or on Metro Arms-USA for questions about our 1911s. Or you can just email us at info@eagleimportsinc.com. But I'm getting a lot of people going in and doing, Facebook Messenger. It seems to be a very, just a new platform that I'm still getting used to. I'm an old guy, just turned 49. So.
Wow, I know, right? It's
crazy. And let me tell you, my birthday was lit on Friday. It was awesome. All locked up in my little place.
Party with your imaginary friends.
I did. Well, as the night wore on, more and more imaginary people started showing up. It was killer.
Yeah, no. So for those that are listening, check out Bersa, check out Metro Arms. They honestly, I don't want Ralph to have to say it because everyone has the best shit ever, but obviously those brands are still near and dear to me and my mission. They've always supported Walk Talk America. Bersa is one of the best affordable handguns on the planet, period. I put it up against anybody. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Gun snobs that say, oh, whatever. And Metro Arms is probably the finest 1911s for the price.
Believe me, it's been a long time coming. But more and more, I think the consumers realize it, especially the people that had them. Obviously the influencers out there, the YouTube guys, have always been big fans of the Metro Arms product. Always the hardest part was getting over the hump with the dealers, right, to stock them. And I'm finally starting to see that trend change. We're selling a lot more to direct to dealers. And we're starting to see the distributors buy more, which means the dealers and consumers are buying them more. But as far as an entry-level 1911, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a nicer one. And then we all know Bersa. It's just it's bread and butter. It's a leader in the value price guns, but remove it from the value price stigma. They're great products for every level. If you're an experienced shooter, if you're somebody who's been around guns all your life, or if you're a first-time gun buyer, they're easy to shoot. They've got a lot of safety features. They're accurate. And a lot of people, too, are very comforted by the fact that all of our guns, Metro and Bersa, have lifetime warranties. So, anything ever happens, which they rarely do, we take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Eagle Imports by far, and I know this because, I owned it at one point. We had the best and still do have the best customer service on the planet, almost to a fault sometimes. So,
Yeah, well, but that's not a bad thing.
No, it's definitely not. Well, listen, man, stay alive. We'll be talking. Hopefully.
I will be sheltering in place.
You shelter in place.
And,
hopefully things blow over soon so we can get back together sometime on the road and do what we do.
Absolutely.
But thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on your podcast, Mike. I'm going to tell you, man, you're doing a good job on this. You kept this thing flowing well, and and I enjoyed it. The time went by really quick.
Yeah, thank you, man. You got to come back more often. We got, let's do it. Let's do it. You and Kenny, it's easy to talk to you guys, and I think it's good because you guys give such good insight to the industry from the person who's on the outside looking in, saying like, how do I get into the industry, or what kind of challenges does the industry face? So definitely have you back on for sure. And
I'm here for you, buddy. Anytime you want, I'm available to you.
All right, brother. Well, stay safe, and I will talk to you.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.